The Aegis Nautilus has been called Star Citizen's most gorgeous mistake. A ship so stunning that thousands of players bought it, despite having literally no viable gameplay loop. While everyone's celebrating the Perseus reveal, there's a darker truth about concept ships that nobody wants to admit. This isn't just about one ship, it's about the fundamental problem with selling dreams in an unfinished universe, and why the most passionate backers often end up holding the most expensive digital paperweights. Look, if you've been following the Nautilus since its original concept sale back in 2018, you know that feeling, that almost magnetic pull of that sleek, predatory design that just screams future warfare. Maybe you almost bought one yourself, credit card hovering over the purchase button at 2 a.m. during a concept sale. But there's something that's been gnawing at the community for years now. We're in 2025, patch 4.3.2 is live in PTU, and CIG has basically admitted they have no clue what to do with mines in Star Citizen. If you've ever wondered why your favorite concept ship seems stuck in development purgatory while basic cargo haulers keep getting pushed through the pipeline, the Nautilus tells that story better than any developer update ever could. The Nautilus is a dedicated mine-laying vessel. Imagine a space-age submarine that deploys explosive traps instead of hunting with torpedoes. According to the original specs, it's supposed to carry 3 distinct types of deployable devices: proximity mines that home in on targets within a specified radius, sentry mines equipped with automated turret systems, and specialized countermine drones for battlefield clearance operations. But there's a mathematical reality that most players never consider. Mines in a 3-dimensional space environment create an impossible coverage problem. Naval warfare works because you can block 2-dimensional shipping lanes with relatively few mines. Space has infinite approach vectors across 3 axes. You'd need literally thousands of mines to create meaningful area denial around even a single space station, which would absolutely devastate server performance on technology that already struggles with basic object persistence. The Nautilus represents everything wrong with concept-first game development in an alpha that can't even handle consistent elevator functionality. Yet somehow, we keep buying these impossible dreams. CIG has quietly walked back almost every original mine concept from the initial design documents, and the community barely noticed because we were too busy arguing about ship stats that don't exist yet. In those early specs, mines were supposed to embed themselves seamlessly in asteroid fields and ship wreckage, becoming nearly invisible environmental threats that would fundamentally change how players approach exploration and combat zones. The original concept art showed mines that could disguise themselves as debris, activate only when specific ship signatures approached, and even coordinate with each other to create dynamic trap networks. Sounds like something straight out of a military sci-fi novel, right? Then reality showed up wearing work boots and carrying a clipboard. During developer interviews throughout 2023, they admitted the entire mine system needs to be completely reconcepted from the ground up. That's developer speak for, we painted ourselves into a corner and have absolutely no clue how to make this work. You can see this exact pattern in other space games. EVE Online had mines, and players systematically griefed entire star systems by mining critical jump gates. The result? Completely unusable areas of space that new players couldn't navigate without getting instantly vaporized. CCP eventually had to remove the systems entirely after massive player exodus from affected regions. The technical problem runs deeper than most people realize. Star Citizen's server meshing technology can barely handle current ship counts and basic physics interactions. Every single mine needs to continuously track multiple ships across varying distances, maintain precise collision detection with objects of different sizes, sync behavioral states across multiple server nodes, and handle edge cases like quantum travel interactions. It's a computational nightmare wrapped in gorgeous concept art that looks amazing in promotional videos, but falls apart under technical scrutiny. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, but my Nautilus will be amazing for large-scale org warfare scenarios, the fantasy is absolutely incredible. But quick question, when was the last time CIG delivered a genuinely complex gameplay system on the first attempt without major compromises? Even cargo loading took multiple years to implement, with any degree of consistency. You know what else took years? Getting elevators to work reliably. So if you're enjoying this reality check and want more honest takes on Star Citizen's development, maybe hit that subscribe button. Because apparently someone needs to be the bearer of bad news around here, and it might as well be us. The community response to the Nautilus perfectly illustrates our collective Stockholm syndrome with concept sales. Scroll through recent Reddit discussions and you'll find players having detailed conversations about whether mines should have 20-kilometer engagement ranges or function as bomb-pumped X-ray lasers with nuclear power sources. You've probably seen these exact conversations in your org Discord servers. Someone posts a Nautilus screenshot, and suddenly everyone's an expert on theoretical space warfare tactics. We're theory crafting weapon systems that don't exist, for gameplay loops that aren't designed, running on server technology that fundamentally can't support the computational overhead. It's like planning a detailed road trip to Mars. Sure, it's technically possible in some distant future, but you're missing several crucial technological breakthroughs and infrastructure developments. Meanwhile, your car won't start and you're arguing about which crater to visit first. What really highlights the absurdity is how CIG continues selling these technically impossible concepts while basic game systems remain broken. The Nautilus sits alongside the Endeavour and Pioneer as ships that require entire game systems, base building, advanced crafting, complex AI behaviors that exist only in design documents. We're still dealing with inventory desync, inconsistent physics interactions, and server crashes during peak hours. But sure, let's add hundreds of AI-controlled explosive devices to the mix. What could possibly go wrong? The development priority system seems completely backwards, but the community keeps throwing money at pretty concept art because the dreams they represent feel so compelling. We've become digital ship collectors in a game that barely functions as a tech demo. You probably remember your first encounter with the Nautilus concept. Maybe it was during CitizenCon 2018, when they showed that absolutely gorgeous reveal trailer with the mines deploying in perfect formation like some kind of space-age naval operation. Maybe you were sitting there at 3 a.m., credit card literally in hand, ready to drop $725 on a digital mine layer that existed only as concept art and marketing promises. Maybe something made you pause. A crashed browser, a phone call from your significant other asking why you were still awake, or just that nagging voice asking, what am I actually buying here? Because when you really thought about it, you were purchasing a ship with no implemented gameplay, no realistic timeline for development, and no clear purpose in Star Citizen's current design philosophy. But those few minutes where you were completely sold on the fantasy, that's the genuine power of exceptional concept art combined with clever marketing psychology. The interruption probably saved you from years of forum disappointment and increasingly desperate attempts to justify why your ship still isn't flyable while the Aurora gets its 15th rework. The Nautilus might actually represent Star Citizen's broader pivot towards simpler, more implementable gameplay loops, though CIG would never admit this publicly because it would essentially confirm that half their concept sales were based on impossible promises. Recent developer comments and design decisions suggest they're systematically moving away from complex automated systems toward more direct player interaction and manual control schemes. Translation: if it requires advanced AI or complex server-side calculations, it's getting simplified or removed entirely. Instead of traditional fire-and-forget mines with complex AI behaviors, we might eventually see deployable turret platforms that require active player control. Think temporary area denial weapons that automatically despawn after predetermined time limits, or drone swarms that function more like guided missiles than persistent environmental hazards. It's definitely not as sophisticated as the original concept promised, but it's actually implementable with current server technology and doesn't require breakthrough advances in distributed computing. The problem is that this hypothetical simplified version bears almost no resemblance to what people actually bought. If you currently own a Nautilus, start researching your CCU upgrade chains right now, before the ship gets closer to implementation and the community realizes how different it will be. The vessel that eventually releases will likely be so fundamentally different from the original concept that it might as well carry a completely different name and manufacturer. And if you're considering buying one during upcoming sales events, don't. Hold your money. The current concept exists in a fantasy version of Star Citizen that may never become technical reality. Your credits would generate more actual gameplay value invested in ships with proven, simple mechanics that actually work in the current build. The Spectrum forums are absolutely packed with Nautilus owners desperately trying to justify their purchase with increasingly creative gameplay scenarios. You've seen the suggestions: mining quantum jump points to create strategic choke points, establishing defensive perimeters around player-built bases, using mines as improvised torpedoes in direct ship-to-ship combat, or creating elaborate trap networks in asteroid fields. It's like watching Endeavour owners insist it's a mobile research platform, while completely ignoring that research gameplay doesn't exist and shows no signs of meaningful development. We've become so emotionally and financially invested in these concepts that we're essentially designing the entire game around our unreleased ships, instead of accepting the game's actual development trajectory. The cognitive dissonance is fascinating from a psychological perspective, but depressing from a practical one. If you're genuinely committed to the Nautilus dream despite all these red flags, you need to diversify your fleet planning immediately. Stop building your entire Star Citizen strategy around one undelivered concept ship with questionable technical feasibility. Focus your primary investments on ships with simple, proven gameplay loops that actually function in the current build. Cargo haulers like the Hull series, established fighters like the Hornet variants, mining vessels like the Prospector and Orion. These ships form the reliable backbone of any functional fleet operation and generate consistent gameplay value right now, not in some theoretical future patch. Then, if the Nautilus eventually releases in some recognizable form that actually works, treat it as a pleasant bonus rather than a cornerstone of your space operations. This approach protects both your wallet and your sanity. Most importantly, develop strict personal rules about buying concept ships based on fantasy gameplay promises. CIG has repeatedly demonstrated that complex systems get simplified beyond recognition, delayed indefinitely, or canceled entirely when technical reality conflicts with marketing promises. Your long-term enjoyment of Star Citizen depends on managing expectations based on current technical reality, not future promises that may never materialize. The Nautilus represents everything simultaneously beautiful and fundamentally broken about Star Citizen's development process. Incredible artistic direction consistently undermined by impossible technical requirements and unrealistic scope promises. You've probably fallen for a concept ship that seemed too good to be true, whether it's the Nautilus or something equally ambitious. Drop a comment about your biggest Star Citizen purchase regret, or the concept ship you're still hoping will somehow work out. Let's build a discussion around realistic expectations and shared experiences with concept sales disappointment. The Nautilus story isn't just about one ship. It's about the entire relationship between player expectations, marketing promises, and technical feasibility in an ever-evolving alpha build that's been in development for over a decade. In Star Citizen's current development landscape, the most beautiful and ambitious ships often hide the ugliest implementation problems and the longest development timelines. Keep your expectations grounded in current technical reality, not future promises that sound too good to be true.